So I have some comments on Nietzsche, perhaps some criticism, and when I do this, I think that the possibility is that one who would see this video might be such a Nietzsche fan that they would, any criticism they would, take great umbrage to. So let me clarify before I do this, because I don't know, what people are going to see this, that I'm a fan of Nietzsche. So, by exposing some of these criticisms, the way I view it is that I'm just being rational, logical about things, not getting too wrapped up in it, because if you go too far in the way of accepting another author's viewpoints, and you do it uncritically, I think you become more of a drone than an individualistic person, which is kind of what Nietzsche is all about. So, what are my criticisms? Well, I got about 60 to 70 pages through Thus Spoke Zarathustra, and I was getting all so wrapped up in it, and it was changing me. And then all of a sudden, I have a conversation with my friend Ben Carruth, and I assume most people are probably going to watch this video or familiar with this channel. I got into a conversation with him, and what's always difficult for me when I read books is I get so enthralled, and then I hit some kind of detractor or speed bump, and then I just kind of lose interest. So Ben kind of took the wind out of my sails on Nietzsche. Here's the criticism. I take Nietzsche to mean it would probably be important for me to explain what I believe he is, because therein might lie some weaknesses in my position. I believe that he proposes a philosophy of rugged individualism, of somewhat separating yourself from the world and creating your own value system. That's a very short explanation of how I perceive his philosophy to be. And that you should justify all values and for yourself, rather than taking someone else's word for it. My criticism is, and this is more from Ben than it is from me, but I've been thinking about it a lot, the fact that when you're in society, and you're wrapped up in society, in your family and friendships, and perhaps even a whole society that is living and promoting values that you don't necessarily agree with, to take yourself out of that. First off, you can't really lie to yourself and think that you're really getting out of society, or that you're somehow going to come up with these values on your own, because the society that you're in is ultimately going to affect it. No matter how much you consciously try to make things up for your own, you're going to have unconscious influences. Perhaps secondly, I would cite just human biology as something that's going to significantly affect what choices you would make as far as personal values go, and that's really not something, therein lies a difficult problem, where if I could change the biological desires that I have and values that I would create based on biological factors, evolutionary psychology, which, yes, is pseudoscientific to many people, would I want to change those things? Would I want to change the values if I could tinker with them? If I was artificial intelligence and I wasn't limited by a biological system, if I hadn't evolved to be the human that I am based on adapting to my environment and being a fit sexual reproducer, if I could change those things about my humanity, would I want to? Would that be a rational thing to do? See, to me, I don't think any science fiction has ever really explored those questions sufficiently, and recently I've been watching the Outer Limits episodes on Hulu, which they have quite a few of them. I would say probably half of the entire series over the years. And some of these questions that they deal with, at the time I thought they were so insightful, and I look at some of the old ones and I'm like, I just feel that I've evolved to a certain extent about what my philosophical problems are and what kind of testing grounds with science fiction I would want to do. But I mean, that's one of them. That's something that constantly I think about because I don't know how to answer those questions. If I could tinker with my own, cognitive processes to make me not desire, let's say, love, romantic love, or if I could tinker with my inner workings so that, I would be more content with less. If I could tinker with my mechanisms so that I, maybe I would never have to eat. Would I want to do that? Or is the pleasure of eating and taste, is that something that I wouldn't want to? I mean, all these things are just, aside from just changing your values based on society, still a subset of that is biologically caused. So almost I see Nietzsche as kind of like a guy with these chains. If you've ever seen maybe a film of Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift, where the Lilliputians tie up Gulliver with all sorts of ropes and chains, I kind of see, and another image that I like is of Morpheus in the Matrix, in the first Matrix movie, where he's sitting in the chair and he's being, tortured or abused by Agent Smith, and he somehow breaks free from the chains. I see Nietzsche as kind of a guy that has all these chains that are tying him down from his potential of the Übermensch. And my question is, are there some chains that we should choose to keep? Is he obsessed with the breaking free of these chains and the rush that one gets from it, that he obsessively tries to rout out any influence on himself? And I would say other existentialist philosophers, especially Sartre, do they do so maddeningly? Is their philosophy exaggerated? Is it overblown, out of proportion? Or is there more of a more reserved position that we should take? Perhaps rather than taking their philosophy to its extreme, perhaps there's something to be learned from it that can help us. However, we should not go to the extremes that I believe that both Sartre and Nietzsche went to. I think it's important to examine the values that you have and examine whether or not you assent to the values that society has around you. But what I feel very terrible about is the fact that Nietzsche had such a miserable life. He was a miserable guy. Now, sometimes Christians will use this fact, and same with Sartre, and they'll take certain quotes out of context, and they'll see, for instance, Nietzsche as a miserable person and say, look, if you employ his philosophy, you're going to be a miserable person. Wouldn't you rather, be a Christian? Well, that's fallacious on so many levels, I don't know where to start. Primarily because it's a fallacy of I forget the exact fallacy, but it's basically you take a negative attribute of a person and poisoning the well, something like that.